Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Macola 10, a single solution to automate, manage, and grow your business. My name is Nick Mears, and I'm the Senior Product Marketing Manager here at Macola Software. We know your time is valuable, so we appreciate you sharing some of it with us today. Now, with that said, I'd like to introduce Steve Featherston. Steve is a Senior Business Consultant, Pre-Sales, and has been with Macola for 5 years. Prior to that, Steve managed the implementation of Macola for many of Macola customers. Prior to Macola, for 16 years, he worked in 3 different companies, all using Macola. Before this, Steve owned his own business for 22 years in the consumer electronics industry. Steve is definitely qualified for this webinar today. So glad you're on, Steve.
Thank you.
So with no further
Glad to be here.
Oh, excellent. I am too. So with no further ado, let's get started here. So I want to talk about these 3 questions here. Who uses Macola? How can Macola help you? And why is Macola different? So first, who uses Macola? Well, when you're looking at industries served, the companies that use Macola are primarily in the either manufacturing or distribution. So these companies could be just about anything, especially those that are in what we think of as discrete or process manufacturing. They can be metals, they can be household goods, they can be food and beverage, injection molding, industrial machinery. You get the idea here. But basically, if you're in that space creating something in a manufacturing environment, then you're probably a good candidate for us. And we have thousands of customers who have used Macola just to solve their needs. Size, from a size perspective, we typically target what we think of as a small and medium business space, but we're also great for larger companies too. So for us, that means anywhere from about 20, which would be a really small company, up to about 10,000 employees. Geography, it's safe to say that Macola has a global footprint. From the US, Canada, and Latin America, Macola is quickly growing. So let's move on here. And Steve, feel free to hop in anytime you want to. Macola has been around for a while, in fact, 40 years. And in that time, we've served and helped over 8,000 customers to run their businesses. One of the things we value here is that Macola 10, our flagship product, is all-inclusive and scalable, meaning you can grow into it for no additional module cost. It offers strong value, giving you more functionality for less cost, really.
And it's easy to use.
Absolutely. So who uses Macola? Now, we look at some of the companies on here, and you might recognize some of them. But you know, it's not necessarily representative of all of our customers, because a lot of our customers are the ones that you probably wouldn't recognize. They're companies that are behind the scenes, and companies that feed into the supply chain. So maybe you've heard of a Simple Green or a White Castle, but you probably haven't heard of the other 99% of our customers who make something for the supply chain. So real quick here, who could benefit from Macola 10? First, anyone that has, or any organization that has siloed information. It's inaccessible data that lives solely in a single department. Second, if you're experiencing information everywhere, who knows where you find the right answers to your questions? Third, lost tasks. Tasks are slipping between the cracks because they may seem insignificant at first, but it's amazing the amount of chaos one missed task can have on an entire process. And we're going to talk a little bit about this coming up here, Steve, about automated workflows, aren't we? That can help with that.
Yeah, we'll see some of that in the demo.
Absolutely. And the fourth here is unknown responsibilities, where no one knows who's responsible for what. So if you're experiencing any of these challenges, then you could benefit from Macola 10. Now, I actually want to conduct a poll here, and I want to get a little bit of audience participation. Let's get your feedback. I'm going to ask you to vote here. And let me launch this first poll. Okay. So if you could, go ahead and vote for this. What do you see as the greatest challenge facing your business? Well, we definitely have a clear winner. In this case, looks like 70% voted for making processes more efficient. Wow. That is that's a clear winner indeed, isn't it?
That was my first choice. I was going right followed up by collaborating across functions, and that in turn makes processes efficient also.
Okay, yes. Some of these kind of integrate with the others, don't they? But I think we see that quite often, don't we? People are looking to tie up loose ends to integrate multiple processes that are occurring at the same time. And we'll show some examples of how Macola 10 can help with that.
Some of your next slides actually detail some of that.
Yes, they will. And that's a perfect segue. Let's move on to those next slides. How can Macola help you? 6 benefits here. Improved visibility, control of enterprise processes, reduce costs and increase revenue, reduced errors, improved accuracy, spotting those bottlenecks and redundancies, which helps you increase efficiencies. Reducing manual effort and paperwork, we hear that a lot, which increases productivity. And then finally, increasing customer and employee satisfaction. These are just a few of the benefits you might see with Macola 10. So let's get a little bit more specific here. In your business, each business function, each role has different responsibilities with different needs. Macola addresses these different roles and responsibilities. Here are just a few of the different roles that Macola can help you with. For starters, the president may be looking to increase collaboration across business functions or to better manage the supply chain, while the director of operations may be looking to optimize the shop floor and spot bottlenecks and redundancies. So Macola can help with that. Now, why is Macola different? I'd like to share a little industry recognition here. This is from Frost & Sullivan, where we recently won an award for product leadership in ERP. When describing Macola, Frost & Sullivan mentioned things like complete functionality, highly scalable, personalized workspaces, role-specific views. It's integrated and scalable. And we're proud of this recognition from Frost & Sullivan, and we wanted to share it with you too. Now, there's a few things that makes Macola different. And let's start off with this one, all-inclusive. Macola offers functional areas such as manufacturing, project management, distribution, quality management, accounting and finance, HR, and CRM. It's all-inclusive. In fact, we've had a customer that mentioned this as being a deciding factor for him when he was looking amongst ERP providers. And this was a general manager for Solar Medical. He said Macola was an inclusive solution. It just had a lot more functionality, whereas some of the other solutions, you could add on to them, get all the functionality of Macola, but they were more expensive. And we think that's really important. That's why we like to say it's all-inclusive, Macola is. So thanks, Ben, for sharing that. Now, you can mix and match, too, what you need. You may not want everything. In fact, you may only need a few of these. Either way, though, you can start with the ones you're ready for now and grow into the rest later. And that's at no additional cost. Macola is ready to help you grow. And from manufacturing to customer relationship management, everything in between, these are just a few of the features and functionalities that can help you. There's quite a depth and breadth of features and functionality, and Steve's going to be discussing this coming up in a bit too. So let's start here. I want to get another poll, and let me launch this one. So in this poll, let's find the answer to this question. What core function of ERP does or could benefit your organization the most? Okay, looks like this was a little bit closer, but there's still a clear winner, manufacturing.
Yep, manufacturing was my top number. I did go for distribution after that, and I left CRM down there. Accounting and finance, sorry, it seemed to win out a little stronger than I thought.
Okay.
Yeah, everything ends up there.
It does. It's kind of funny how that funnels through, doesn't it? Well, thank you, everyone, for your vote. So let's move on here. What makes Macola different? Integration between business functions. This could be integrating sales, support, purchasing, shipping, finance, the C-suite. It helps to eliminate those silos that we were talking about before. Next up, configuration instead of customization. Macola is cost-effective, what we like to call out-of-the-box configurable, without the need for what can be costly customizations. Next up is automated workflows that increase efficiencies, reducing manual effort and paperwork while improving visibility and control of your enterprise processes. So you said, well, what is an automated workflow? And this is probably a good way to describe it. Oftentimes, companies have individual processes that aren't really processes at all, but rather a series of disjointed and disparate actions. They aren't connected.
I like this screen.
It's a good one, isn't it? And
it looks like a mess.
It is a mess, and because they're not connected, and they cause pain points such as delays due to late paper filings, a mailbox that isn't being checked, time-consuming manual data entry, siloed data for that fact. Okay, so what we do first is organize this and put these into a process flow. Once you organize these previously disjointed tasks, you can actually, with Macola, start replacing entire tasks. Some of these workflows can even reduce or even eliminate certain manual tasks. And this is just one example. You can see how this could be very powerful. You can configure Macola to meet the needs of your specific workflows and the needs of your organization. This is the strength of Macola's automated workflows. Here's a good example. This is from the director of IT from GL Mizzetta talking about automated workflows. He says, in one department, we dropped 4 hours every day on one task, and that's really just by using workflows and document management. And that's really amazing. What if you could eliminate 4 hours in every department every single day? Now, think about that. That's fantastic. And thanks, GL Mizzetta, for sharing this. So last up, personalizable views, and Steve will show some workspaces that have actually configured. In fact, we offer 42 out-of-the-box role-based workspaces that have key metrics, KPIs, and ability to perform transactions. Those are just out of the box. You're actually able to create your own workspaces if you want. It doesn't take any custom coding, and you can do it somewhat easily. There's also menus, and you can perform transactions. So one other thing, anytime, any device, it's important to be mobile. Get your data where you work, from the desktop to the laptop to tablets on the shop floor. Helps you to increase the speed of doing business with anytime, anywhere access. Last up, flexible purchase options, from perpetual to subscription to enterprise license agreement. We want to align with what might work best for you. Okay, I want to finish with one final customer quote here. This is how one of our customers was able to find and eliminate a bottleneck that they were experiencing. They're in the metal fab industry. And Denise Johnson said, it used to take us between 3 to 5 days to quote one of our larger jobs. And now we're down to half a day. So they found the bottleneck, and with Macola, significantly reduced the amount of time it took to quote the orders. So thanks for sharing that, Denise, and we're happy to share that with you. Okay, so I'm going to pass this over to Steve now. And so Steve, take it away.
Great. Thank you, Nick. Good afternoon, everybody. Today we're going to do a walkthrough from Macola's quote-to-cash process. We're going to be using the latest version of Macola, which is actually 10.6, was released on the 9th of this month. And we're going to be using kind of a role-based interface to assume the different roles and functions of the peoples involved and highlight some of the automated features and maybe touch on some of the mobile applications. So we're going to end up doing a brief animation here, which will kind of walk us through the process. We're going to end up logging in as our gentleman in sales, Ron Calley. He'll enter a sales opportunity. He may process that opportunity, work with it, maybe enter a quote for the customer for it. That in turn might end up something he reviews with the customer, promotes the customer, and somebody in support would end up having a look at this order and make sure it's in good shape. Robin in support may end up printing the quote or the workflow for it, the sales order, print the pick ticket for it, and that in turn would probably trigger an automation for the rest of the company that, hey, there's a hot order or a rush order that just came in. So as she works with that and prints the pick ticket, our purchase agent might be reviewing what's necessary to be able to fill that order. If he needs any materials for it, have the POs automatically created, might release that PO, have them printed, and our production manager would get a notification that he's got a rush order and needs to be processed. He's going to, again, kind of take a look at the order that was automatically created, confirm he's got the inventory for it, release that order production, and then again report production and start rolling it over to our shipping department. In our shipping department, he's going to review the shipment schedules. He's going to take a look at what needs to go out, end up shipping that order, and it will probably notify somebody in finance that we need to do billing on this. So he's going to review and bill that order and receive the cash on it, hopefully a short time after. Last result of this, our CEO may be taking a look at the KPIs for the day, for the week, for the month, and have a good overview of everything that's kind of happened.
Well done, Steve.
Kept up with it.
Yes. Now take a much-deserved breath there too.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, we like running through that illustration because it's really powerful. It just shows how it really integrates everyone within your organization. So one of the things we're going to start with is the quote-to-cash process. And we'll start with, I believe, Ron Calley, that's our sales rep, and we're talking about the opportunity in the quote. And one of the things that this salesperson is looking for is mobile access to real-time data. He's also interested in CRM for prospects and customers, and he needs to be able to conduct key business functions outside of the office. So Steve, is this something you can share with us right now?
Certainly. Let's go and take a look at what Ron's workspace looks like. So hang on just a second. Let me see if I can get that up and in place, and we should be looking at Ron's workspace right at the moment. So this is Macola 10 is what we're looking at presently, and he's accessing it in his hotel room. Ron happens to be our road warrior for today. He does all of our sales and CRM functionality. He's getting to this using a web browser and is able to see, his desktop. Maybe he's done checking his emails for the day and he's headed down to the cafeteria in the hotel. He's going to maybe bring his iPad with him and do the rest of his work from there. So we'll see if I can get my iPad to display properly in this meeting today. And so what I'm looking at right now is what would be the native application that you can get on any type of a tablet or a web browser, and Ron's going to kind of do his work from here. He's going to take a look at what his planning calendar may look like, so we'll log in onto his human resource card. We'll go and take a look at his planning calendar. And for today being November 15th, we'll kind of take a look. He's got some active appointment scheduled for that. We'll go and take a look at what that appointment looks like. So he's got a sales call. He's scheduled to go see Dove Equipment Corporation, specifically to see Javier there, and he needs to talk to him about these air compressors, 30 horsepower air compressors that we have a sales opportunity for. Now he's got all of this linked inside of here, so I could go to Javier's contact card or the account card or directly into the opportunity just basically by clicking on the link. So I'm going to open the opportunity that we have here. We can see it's a $30,000 opportunity for the 90% chance of closure. The stages that I'm in right now is it's a 5-stage sales cycle, and you see on the right there I'm in contract negotiations, which is step 4 of 5. And inside of this opportunity, I have the ability to store documents related to this. I have the opportunity to store workflow related to it. I might turn this sideways and look at maybe a different view of it here. And go and take a look at documents that we may have sent them. I may have some line brochures and some fact sheets that have been sent out to them. Just kind of use the back button here. I'll go back to that opportunity. I can go and take a look at the workflow that's involved in that opportunity. And we are in step 4, which is contract negotiation. So I can go and take a look at that workflow and see what the details of that is. And basically what we're seeing is that, we're at the last stages here with this sales opportunity. It was a 5-stage sales cycle, and we need to call him today and see if we can get this deal closed. The whole process of the sales cycle may have been all linked together in a version something like we're seeing here. And I'll just kind of turn this sideways and maybe get a better view of it. But you can see we've completed a couple of the stages in it, and we're involved in the latter stages of this particular sales cycle. So as I step out of this, I might end up going to the customer card themselves and taking a look at Dove Equipment Corporation and their particular account status. And I'll just bounce over to Dove and take a look at their account card from here. Now from this account card, I should be able to get to just about everything that I need on that account. I could be getting to their sales orders, their documents, their processes. But what I've been working with this particular account is that opportunity for compressors, and I'm going to end up using some of the 10.6 screens to be able to complete a quote for this particular customer and get it out to him. So I'm going to hop over to one of our new quote screens here. This is released in 10.5 and 10.6 is a kind of a newer order entry interface, and it kind of tracks and fills things in automatically for me, so it recognizes the last customers I've used. I'm going to end up selecting Dove Equipment as the customer that I'm going to do a quote for, and I'll scroll down to the area where I can add items to the sales order, and we'll just pop on that add items to the order, and we'll look for an SLE series of air compressors. And see if I get a dash in there. I know we have a bunch of parts like that. So we'll grab this 30 horsepower scroll compressor and end up adding that to the order. Hit the add button, and I'm actually adding this to the quote, not the order, but I've got it down there on the bottom. We're going to be shipping out one of these. Notice we have none to ship. We have one that's on the order, so I know I don't have any in stock. Something that we're going to manufacture to order, so to speak. And I go up to the top of this, I can see the detail of what this looks like. I could check their credit information on the left if I wanted to kind of dig into that and see where they're at credit-wise. But I'll end up submitting this quote, hit the submit button, and it should come up with a valid quote number for us. It will probably be quote number 290 is about where I'm at with this. And that can in turn trigger the automation to send out that quote to the customer automatically. And I'm going to assume that it's doing that for it. So next thing I might end up being is actually on site with Dove Equipment, go out and visit them, and in talking to Javier, he's gotten that quote, and we may look it up and review it together with it. So that was quote number 290. Let's throw 290 in here and do a quick search on that. I pulled up quote number 290, and in talking with Javier, he does like what he's seeing, and he's going to give me a PO for it. I'm going to ask this to convert the quote to an order right from this screen. So in the upper right, I'll touch on the convert quote button. It's asking me to confirm this. I'll allow it to confirm that we're going to convert this to an order, and we should see the order number pop up, the order number 1188 if I know what my next order numbers are. So a lot of the functionality can be done within the web type browsing, either on a tablet type device or a mobile device, and we're able to see kind of the status here of where that order is. You can see the boxes that are lit up there. It was booked 11/15. We haven't printed a pick ticket yet. We haven't done any packing slip or shipping. So it's a new feature for 10.6 is the process flow that you're seeing at the top here of where the order is stage-wise. And we're also able to look up other details in here. So if I wanted to go to maybe an item snapshot, take a quick look and see if we have any other items he may be interested in. Let's take, who knows, let's say we're going to look up Bike AS. Maybe he's interested in an adventure bicycle. And if I spell Bike AS right, that'll be wonderful. Thank you. So we'll go and take a look and see if we have any of these bicycles in stock. Ought to be able to surface the detail of that, and let me bring up a different one that maybe has some better data to it. That one would be good. So I get to something that's more popular, something I use more frequently. You can see we're not only collecting all of the data you'd used to see in what would be called multiple level item view, but I'm also able to bring metrics into here. How many's been sold year to date, prior year, usage, sales dollars, where I have them in what locations in my warehouses, This knows that this is a manufactured item, so we're not seeing any PO references in here, and it is not made by pop orders. They're made by shop floor, so the number of tabs that are here are adjusting based upon the item statistics. So I go and take a look at customer orders that we have in the system for it. I can take a look at shop floor orders that are available or have been closed for it, maybe some available to promise information on this particular item, or even down to the bill of material. But notice we're working with something that the windows are opening in front of me, and I don't have multiple windows to close after it. It's a nice improvement over some of the earlier versions of item lookups. I can kind of go right back to my standard desktop here, or the native app as you might call it that, and go back to that. And I've kind of completed this. I've converted it to an order, and I'm probably done with this particular account at the moment, but maybe I've run early. I'm going to end up seeing if I can pop off of this sharing. We'll end up back at my desktop here. Now let's assume that Ron is leaving Dove Equipment, and he's headed out in his car, and he's going to see what accounts he might go and visit next. Now he has been able to run a little bit early, so we're going to see if I can pull up my cell phone and take a look at what he'd probably be doing next. So here is my cell phone, and we'll go take a look at the Macola 10 app. And here is the Macola 10 app. So I'm just leaving Dove Equipment, and maybe I want to hit the proximity function and have it identify where I am, and if there's any customers that are in my particular area, and it's identified me as being somewhere in North Jersey, about 30 miles west of New York City. And I've got a couple of customers. I'm the blue dot you're seeing there, and I got a couple of customers that are near me. Marlowe Manufacturing is one of them. So I might click on Marlowe there and pull up their account card information. This in turn would give me mapping detail down at the bottom, where I could actually, just push that map, and I'd end up getting, Google Maps to how to get there. But I could also get contact information as you'd find it in Macola 10. Be able to look up Tony, the owner, see if he's available to meet. I got his phone number and his email address from here, so I can basically just hit either one of those and either call him or email directly from there. Now, the same kind of features that I was doing on the iPad, I could do the same basically here from my mobile app, is I could go and check on workflow that I may have going on. So I'll go and see what my incoming workflow is, and one of my incoming workflows was that sales appointment that I had with Javier. So we're seeing that here in a slightly smaller screen, but this is our appointment to go and meet with Javier and to be able to close that deal on the air compressors that we just did. And I can attach things to it, and I can process these basically from here. So whether it's a sales call, or it's part of your opportunities like the contract negotiations we're looking at, all of these you can kind of get to the same data by drilling into them. I'm going to go to this sales call with them, and I click on a Dove Equipment's account card and end up going directly to their account card from that particular workflow. I could go into their documents or their contacts and be able to see the detail of that. You can also do item inquiries from here, much like we did in the iPad app. So I could go and take a look at what might be a particular item in inventory. Let's go see if we can surface that same item as we did before, a bike AS. That would seem about right. And I can see that I've got 950 of them in Massachusetts and 969 in California. So very similar functions you can do with this. It's great, for a quick lookup. I like the proximity function a lot. But I could also get to other areas, like maybe running some reports off of it from here. So with that said, our road warriors kind of completed his tasks of the mobile devices, and that order that was converted, because the dates were set on it to not only the order date and the ship date were both on 11/15, that may have triggered an automation that tells people in the company that this is a rush order and we need to push it through. So in my desktop you're seeing here, we have the ability to assume people's roles, and we're going to do that as we walk this order through the process. Presently we're going to assume the roles of somebody in sales support. We're logging in as Robin Smith. You can see her name pops up in the upper right. Her desktop is unique to herself. You'll never see another one like it, and that's because she's designed it herself. She's put the buttons on and what they mean and where they go, and she's adjusted her workflow and her favorites to be exactly where she wants it. This is a user configurable desktop as compared to what Nick was describing as the 42 canned desktops that come right out of the box to get you up and running fast. But you can see there's a notification here that there's a heads-up order alert, a rush order that's been put in, and I can go and drill into that and see that, Ron Calley's entered an order for customer 2033. If I click on the link here, I should be able to surface that order, scroll down and see that it's one of the 30 horsepower scroll compressors. Now, it's Robin's job to take a look and make sure that our road warrior has filled in all of the correct amounts and that he, in fact, will be getting the 100% of commission like he expects. But she's got other tasks to do in this, so she may end up sending an acknowledgement to the customer that we've received your order. She may end up printing a pick ticket, but all of these functions can be automated with the automation that's within Macola 10. So she's kind of reviewed this, printed her pick tickets, and done her part, and we're going to end up logging out as Robin Smith. So Nick will log out as Robin.
Sure. And actually, let me catch up here. So we just close out Robin in sales support, and a few of the things Steve talked about: being automatically notified of key sales activities, can process, review sales order, print pick tickets, automate key tasks. And I think what we're moving to next, Steve, is our purchasing manager, right?
Yeah, I got ahead of myself, but
that's okay.
Yes. You can go and describe his role, and then I'll show him how it works.
Sure. So the purchasing manager, he's looking for visibility into all targets of the supply chain. MRP, inventory management are important, and you may print purchase orders and receive materials. So let's see the purchasing manager workspace here.
Absolutely. So, okay, we're logged in now as Jack Davis, and his desktop is set up by himself. He's got maybe some reports that he's put on here. These are called web parts, where we can drop little individual pieces of reports onto the desktop and see items that are late on POs and how many POs have been received, and maybe some other valuation detail about specific inventory he's concerned about. But he's got the ability to do all of his purchase functions by the hotkeys that I like to call them up top here. Now he's gotten a heads-up alert, again, very similar to what Robin just got, and it's for that order that's going to be rushed through the system. And so he knows at night MRP runs and kind of calculates what you may need in the way of buying things. So he's going to allow MRP to assist him in making sure he's got what he needs for this order. So he's going to take a look with the application to see, what do I need? Can MRP tell me what I need for a TS series of air compressors? Is there anything I need to buy for it? Well, I'm going to be short 13 pieces, 6 of one, 6 of another, and then an assembly kit that I need 1 piece of. And I'm going to allow this to select all of these pieces and build a purchase order out of it. Now, I only have an example of a couple of pieces here, but you could be short, 75 different items, and the system will go and pick those items and enable them to be put on a purchase order, an unreleased order, for you to then process. So it's asking us to do that right now, and I'm going to allow it to do that. It's going to create a purchase order. It's going to want to write that to something, because every purchase order has to be printed in order to be able to receive it. So we're going to end up writing that out, and we'll go and take a look at the purchase order that was created. And there should be a PO in the system, probably the highest number of PO. I'm going to guess at PO 601. And there it is there. There's an unreleased PO for Shimani Corporation for the materials that I need. So if I select that and tab through it a little bit, I can see it's an unreleased PO, and there is my assembly kit and the other 2 items that I'm short 6 of each of, and it's all set to go for a particular vendor, the required vendor of this particular set of parts. And we'll end up releasing this, saving that, and as I step out of it, as I mentioned, it's going to want to print that purchase order. Absolutely got to have that printed, or otherwise the receiving department can't do their portion of this. So we'll allow this to print. Now, whether it prints to the screen in front of us like we're seeing here, and you can then hit the export button down at the bottom and export it out to a different format, or export it to an email application, this might be something that the automation would pick up. So any PO that you've finalized, You'd want the system to send the PO to the vendor automatically, and you don't necessarily have to go through this particular step, but we review the PO. And as we step out of it, it'll say, did it print correctly? And yes, it did. And that would initiate it for us to be able to end up receiving those components. So we'll do a quick receipt on that so that I don't have any parts that are missing off of my production order when I go to build it. And that is PO number 601. So we'll do PO 601 in an effort of saving time here. I'm going to receive everything as ordered with this button up top here because I can count up to 13. And I've got all of them I'm going to receive on this date. I could fill in my carrier and packing slip information if I wanted to. But you'll see it step through lines 1, 2, 3. If you had 75 lines on the PO, it's going to roll through all of them. Nice if it's easy to count and you don't have to do an inspection on them. It's a quick way to get the information in. And I'm kind of done right now as Jack in purchasing. We're going to end up logging off as him and logging in as our production manager. So back to you, Nick.
Sure. So the production manager here, well, let's advance to him. Production manager is going to be interested in an automated production order processing. He's responsible for optimizing shop floor capacity, BOM, product routing, master scheduling, just a few of the things he might be responsible for or interested in. Steve, let's see some of this in action here.
Absolutely. So here we are with our production manager, Bruce Huntington, there in the upper right. And again, he's got all of the workspaces I'm showing you are ones that the individual has put together. So whatever they feel is important to have on their desktop is up to them. He's got a heads up alert here that he's got a rush order. We can drill into that and see the same order. So if he goes and takes a look at it, it's for an SLE series of air compressors. He knows by history that as he has worked with these air compressors before. Once a sales order is put in for them, an automatic production order is created for that. So we might go and take a look at our production order module and see if we do in fact have a pop order created for that particular item. And we're seeing here pop order number 477, which is again much like the PO. It's an unreleased order waiting for human intervention, but it's tied to that particular sales order that was put in. So as I select this, you can see it's for customer 2033, it's for sales order 1188, and it's on line 1. We're going to build one of these air compressors, and I'm going to end up releasing this order, and we may end up printing the paperwork that's necessary for the inventory team to pull the product together and get all the pieces there. Now this is a relatively light assembly. We have got about 5 or so parts that get bolted onto this air compressor, and that gets completed. So here are the components and our work order for it. All these forms are customizable, I should say configurable. You can adjust them for your own particular business needs. But that is the production report for it, and we will have inventory now being pulled out and put in place to put this all together. Now, the next step for Bruce is that he's got to report production on this. So we'll go and take a look at that. We'll open up the production module, say we're going to report production on order number 477. And here is our production. Now, in my bill of material, I don't have any labor associated with this. Shop floor handles labor differently. It's much more involved. But for production order processing, I can have it as an element of the bill of material, or I could add it into the production build on the fly, and that's kind of what I want to show today. So we know this took a little bit of time to assemble, so we're going to grab some assembly and overhead labor to this, and we may say that it took the technician 50 minutes to be able to get that together. And we enter that in, escape on that, and we've just added labor to this particular build. I say it's complete, and when I hit save, it's going to do the transaction that takes those piece parts out of inventory and puts the finished good in inventory, and this item happens to be lotted. So it's going to put it in with a unique lot number. So as we see that happening here, we can see it's assigning lot number 262 to this particular production run, and we kind of are complete with this. Now Bruce has completed his part, and he's going to end up rolling this back to shipping. So we'll log off as Bruce, and Nick, you can review what the next step is.
Sure. So we look at the shipping clerk here. In this case, he's going to be interested in automated notifications, both to and from, a shipping lineup. Let me see, tracking freight charges, weight, product. There are a few more to go with this, but Steve, why don't you share with us just a few?
Sure, absolutely. So here we are logged in as Peter Bailey, and he's got that same heads up alert which went to everybody in the company that's related to building anything here. He's also got some fun things on here like the view of his weather. You might have an RSS feed for the latest things that are going on in the world. It's kind of up to you as to what you want to put on here. But he's got hot links to his FedEx software, to his UPS software, or even to an application that may tie all of them together and do that processes for you. But his job is to keep an eye on the shipping lineup schedule. And this is a report. This is a configured report. If I drill into this, there we go. So I drill into this configured report, it's going to give them a view of everything that needs to ship out from our business software. Now, I'm working with a lot of demo data, so you're seeing dates here that are all the way back into 2014. But I could refine this down. Before I do refine the dates on this, I want to point out that there are some notes here that are attached. So this has now got an updated shipping address. If I go take a look at another one, hold this shipment, we don't want to ship it out. So these are communication that's going on between departments. You might have a statement in here where you're adding, a line brochure or something to it. But let's narrow this report down so that we're really only looking at what needs to go out from Monday of this week to Friday of this week, and I'll just kind of refresh it. Now from there, it ought to drop us down to a few less things to look at. Now the one we're working with is the one from today. It's our rush order 1188 for Dove equipment. I can see it's going ground shipment to that address. It is an SLE series of air compressors, and it was manufactured on shop order 477. If I was interested, I could drill into that shop order and see details of it. But notice the quantity to ship and the quantity ordered here have changed. We had, when we entered the order, the quantity ordered was 1 and the quantity shipped was 0. When we completed order 477 on the production floor, it updated the sales order with the quantity to ship to 1 because they're integrally tied together. Now, in my version of Macola, I have confirm ship turned on. It's a feature a lot of companies like. It's an extra step for me to go through. We'll go through that. The purpose of it is that I can ship something and it will relieve it out of inventory, and people will not be able to grab the parts or that component and sell it to someone else. But it doesn't really hit finance. It puts it in a temporary holding account in finance until you actually do the invoicing. We're going to kind of walk through that today, but that confirm ship process, if I go and confirm ship order number 1188, is going to take this item out of inventory and confirm that I've actually shipped this. So we're going to say this is the order that I want, hit save on this. I'm going to ship everything that's on that order for this date, and it's going to go out and confirm that lot number that we did for the compressor. Say that I'm good with that. I've made sure that I got the right one to that particular order, and it has put it on the order, and as I step out of it, I have the ability to add some freight charges in here. Maybe there's some miscellaneous charge that it's involved, and I can hit save and I've stepped out. Now some of the integrated shipping software will take the weights from the scales that you're putting this on and feed that information back into the system automatically. It's a nice feature. Used it many times myself. Now as I'm working with this report as Peter Bailey, he's just shipped this order, and if he goes and refreshes his report, you'll see that it changes from a booked order to confirmed ship. So he knows he's done with that, he's completed his part. And when it has done that confirmed ship switch, it's probably created a notification to finance that this order needs to be billed out when they're doing their billing. So we're going to step out as Peter Bailey here, and we're going to end up looking in as somebody from finance. So step out as Peter, and Nick, we can review our next steps with the finance team.
Sure. So moving on from the shipping clerk to the accounting manager. And one of the things the accounting manager might be interested in is being automatically notified of this shipment. He can verify, or she can verify, the shipment, paperwork, create invoices, process, applies cash receipts, let me see, manages general ledger, transaction reviews, approves, accounts receivable, accounts payable, all kinds of good stuff. Like you said, Steve, it seems that everything funnels through this point anyway.
Very well. So we're going to take a look at Joe Whitemore's desk, and he's got a couple of hotkeys up here to help him do billing. If he scrolls down to see what his workflows are, he has a heads-up alert for that rush order. He's also got a notification that was automatically generated when we did the confirm ship. Order number 1188 is ready to be invoiced. So let's go and do that. We'll go and grab the billing function here. We'll enter in order number 1188. And what we're going to do with that is say that we'll bill everything that's on that order on this date, and it's going to in turn show us the shipping detail that's been put in by Peter, and we're also starting to calculate taxation and also commissions that are involved. Hit save on this. I've now selected that order for billing. I'll go to the print invoice function and we'll kind of walk this out the door. So this is order 1188. We'll end up printing the invoice. Now some of this can be automated. If you would like to automate these features at once once an order has gotten to the stage of selected for billing, you can automate the invoice functionality and have that send automatically to the customer also. Try to walk it through it manually here and talk to some of the automation because it's nice to see the process that you actually would go through. So there's our lot number for it. We have our detail down at the bottom of our miscellaneous charges and our freight, our taxation, total amounts due. That all looks correct. This is my last chance to really modify this order before it gets posted, so it'll end up asking me, did it print correctly, yes or no? That's my choice to either modify it or not. Let's say it printed correctly, and we've kind of completed that portion of it, and we're going to end up posting that order. Joe's workspace up here is a little different. We've got a couple of financial web parts that have been dropped on. One is an executive scorecard you just see populate there, and the other one is a view of his control accounts. The information that we're seeing here is live to the moment. So as soon as something gets invoiced, something gets received, all of the numbers here change. It is a live GL, so the data you're seeing here is per the moment the transactions have happened. We're going to go and post those invoices, and we'll post everything for today. And that particular posting, we should see order number 1188 pop up in the posting. We'll let that complete its process, and we'll end up receiving cash on this. Now it'll be a little bit fast for receiving cash. We'll assume they're not 30 days, but we're going to end up receiving cash and applying it to this particular order. So we'll open up the receive cash application, and that's this key up in the top here on the right. And I'm going to say that for today we're going to do a new cash receipt, and that cash receipt is going to go into one of my specific bank accounts. I could have that default, but I'm going to put it to bank 1 at this point, and we're going to do a cash receipt of $30,000. And I usually like to throw a check number in here. I usually like to use a deposit number being similar to the date so that I could have a bunch of them using that same deposit number. And we're 11/15/2017 on the date, and this is going to go to account 2033. So we'll see that, journalize that entry of the cash coming in, and then I have the ability to go and match this. So I'm going to go and match the cash entry to the invoice. We'll use this match button in the center here. I click on that, and it's going to bring up my cash entries on the left-hand side. The one that's highlighted in blue is the one that I'm currently working with, and our sales order that was just put in today, I can find that in my list over here, is roughly $28,000. So they've overpaid us by some amount of money, and we can apply that to another invoice if we'd wanted to, or we can leave it on the balance on the account. It's kind of up to us. So here's where I match it, and I go and hit match process, and these two transactions will be rolled up together once I decide what I want to do with that leftover $1,260. I could refund it, I could put it to another GL, leave it as a balance on the account, we'll just leave it as a prepayment, and those two transactions should disappear, and I've cleaned up the incoming cash, and it's left that $1,260 sitting here as a credit on their account that can be applied to another invoice at a later date. So with that said, I'll step out of my cash receipt function. It'll complete that process, and we end up logging out as Joe Whitemore. Now we're going to end up going in as Glenn Weissman, one of our CEOs, president of the company. Nick, I'll switch it over to you. Touch base on that.
Thank you. So the president, he's going to be interested in monitoring company-wide KPIs in real time, ensuring collaboration across business functions, integration of internal processes, and he's probably going to be interested in a few out-of-the-box reports for tracking budgets and managing costs. Steve, can we see some of this in action here?
Sure, absolutely. So he's got a handful of different things that have popped up on his workspace here. He's got the executive scorecard and control accounts. He's got a view of his sales year over year. He can drill into other reporting and other detail up here if he needed to, and you can almost add anything you wanted here. If we wanted to go into the GL cards or AR cards from here, I could. What I want to point out about these workspaces is that the data that you see on here is not just stationary. Our $91,000 for month to date just changed with a billing of that particular order we just did. But if I go and take a look at some of this, it's actionable. So I'm using a pointer that's a white arrow. If I get to a field that's interesting, like this $54,000 of order revenue that's potential or projected, I can actually do something with it because it's got a hand and a pointer. So I could go and drill into a little deeper view of that $54,000. This will bring up a configured report. Shows me that 54,000. I could also 54 million. I could also drill into it and see the detail of the orders that make it up. I can see my year-over-year comparisons, my sales for this particular month as compared to what it was last month, how my sales reps are doing with their particular totals, but probably more importantly, how am I doing with specific customers and what am I selling the most of? So my top 10 customers are listed here. Dove equipment is number 1, and the compressors we've been building a lot of is my top item. But if I didn't know very much about Dove, I could drill into them and have it Google their account. It'll just drop it into a Google search for you, and you can start looking and researching that account. Or I can go and take a look at what the customer snapshot might look like. Now, this is a configured report, so anything that you see on here is kind of adjustable to what you might like. In my particular view, I'm looking at year-over-year comparisons. I'm looking at how much they owe me in an outstanding AR. Within these 30 to 90 day buckets, what they did last year, what they are doing so far this year, average days to pay, what they're buying from me. They've got about 25 open orders in the system here. There's some notes attached to these orders. We can see here we need to send them a line brochure when we send this order out. I could drill into these orders and work with them from here, but this is a great way for somebody who's doing research on specific numbers like your projected revenue to be able to drill into the detail of it without having to run separate reports and print things out and configure different ways to look at it. It's kind of, you set it up the way you want it to begin with, and you can drill into any of those pieces of information from there. So that kind of concludes our walkthrough from quote to cash and the process inside of Macola 10. I'm going to go back to my main desktop here, and I'm going to turn it back over to you, Nick.
Well, thank you, Steve, and hopefully that was a helpful walkthrough for everyone online. And there's actually been a few questions coming in, so go ahead, and if you have a question, type it, and we'll cover it here in just a sec. Real quick though, how can Macola help you? Well, it's a single solution that has all-inclusive value, anywhere web and mobile access, and I hope you're able to pick up on some of the iPad usage and phone the app for your mobile device as well. Next up, configuration instead of customization. It's very important, we believe. Increased efficiencies with automated workflows. Flexible purchase options, and a personalizable view into the data that matters the most to you. We think these are all valuable. Now, just a few additional thoughts here. If you could visit Macola.com, you could download ebooks, infographics, a few customer success stories. We have a YouTube channel that has videos featuring even some of the videos of our latest release, 10.6. And you can find additional product information too as well. Following up here, we'll be sending out an email with a link to view the on-demand webinar. That should come out probably tomorrow afternoon. And then directly after this, there'll be a survey. We'd appreciate your thoughts on that. So let's hit some questions here. Like I said, a few of you already sent some questions in. Steve, I might read some of these off. So let me
try to answer.
Okay, and you might be able to see them as well. Okay, so first off, are there any mobile devices, are there any unique or potential security issues using mobile devices to process system functions?
That's a good question. Most any time that you open up your Macola 10 environment to the outside world, it has to be done with a certain amount of security and guidelines and firewalls and servers outside the domain inside of what would be like a demilitarized zone, a DMZ as they say, and then pretty much our consultants and our partners consultants all follow a set of guidelines from Microsoft as to how to make a website secure. But basically you're logging into a server outside of your company's firewall, and that has a one-way trust back into your company, and it allows it to communicate, but safely. So I'm not too concerned about the apps. It's really the website that you're touching with the apps is the big concern, and we really do try to stay right with Microsoft's guidelines on how to do that.
Oh, thank you. Hopefully that answers your question there. Here's an easy one. Will there be a link sent out afterwards? Yes, there will. So thank you for asking, and like I said, hopefully tomorrow afternoon it should be coming out. Let me see. I read that you have a KPI builder tool. Does it integrate with Workspaces?
Okay, I'm not sure which KPI builder tool we're referring to. There's a lot of different ways that we display things on Workspaces. Some of it's done with Aspx reports, some of it's done with Ssrs reports, and then again there's an entire business intelligence side of this that we integrate to that does it quite robustly. And can they be brought into Workspaces? Sure.
Okay. Oh wow, questions keep coming in, and we're running out of time here. Let's pull a couple more out real quick. Let me see. Does Macola interface with a product forecasting module?
Yes, it does. There's actually probably a fair amount of forecast tools that are out there in business before coming to Macola. I happen to use one in specific that I think they've worked with for a number of years called Forecast Pro. Does a great job of pulling information out of Macola that builds historical trends for you to be able to then take recommendations from it and adjust those recommendations as to what you need to build and buy for your next year coming up.
Okay. Hopefully that answered the question. Here's one more. We'll do one more, and then I may have to reach out to some of you individually afterwards with some answers here. Sorry about that. We're running a little bit short on time. Example of a drop-shipped order processing.
Okay, generally you're looking at something that gets put in a sales order. You don't necessarily stock it. This is the direction I'm going with it. You don't necessarily stock it. It comes from a vendor of yours, and they do the shipping of it. So yes, you can have the system automatically take that order, create a PO to the vendor with an address on it that will end up being the address of the client or customer that needs to receive the goods. Yes, that's been capable and functional in the system for numbers of years.
Okay. Well, and Steve, there's still some questions, but I want to be conscious of everyone's time here, and what I may do is just reach out afterwards. But in the meantime, I just want to thank everyone again for joining us this afternoon. We really appreciate you sharing your time with us. Thank you, Steve, for presenting as well. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Nick.
If you have questions, you can send them to me, nick.mears@exact.com. Also look for that email tomorrow with the link in it, and there's a survey afterwards. And we'd love to have your feedback. Thank you, everyone, and have a great afternoon.